Hello, friends, especially friends who are joining in from Bangladesh and South Asia and the rest of the world. A warm welcome to this multi-panel discussion on the situation in Bangladesh, the harsh reality of the current situation in Bangladesh. We'll have people from different walks of life, from Bangladesh, from India, from Europe, the UK, and the United States, who are going to join us in this panel and brief us, discuss with us about different aspects of the situation now in Bangladesh. As we all know, ever since the regime change in Bangladesh and the coming to power of an unelected, supposedly interim regime, there have been a number of instances of human rights violations, not only of the minorities, especially of the Hindu, but also of the Christian and Buddhist minorities, and of political opponents, leading to the total isolation, persecution, and suppression of the largest political party of Bangladesh, which is connected to the liberation struggle of Bangladesh, the Awami League. We are going to discuss all that today, and we are going to sort of listen to a number of speakers who will give us their perspectives on the situation, both from inside and outside. We are waiting for one of our speakers, Sri Arun Anand from New Delhi. I believe he's caught up in a small issue which is delaying his joining. So I'd like to jump the gun a bit forward. I would like to jump the gun a bit and invite a very promising young voice from Bangladesh. I believe he's now based in Dhaka, right?
Video.
Hello.
Video. First video presentation.
Yeah, right. So yeah, before that, we are going to have. Before we go on to, I was just explaining the sequence of how we are going to present the speakers. So the first speaker will probably not be Sri Arun Anand. It will be Sheikh Mohammed Naim, but we are going to introduce him more just to prepare him to possibly take over the first speaker's role. But before that, we are going to have a short video which has been prepared by the organizers on the current situation in Bangladesh, a presentation on the dire human rights situation in Bangladesh, which unfortunately is not getting as much or anywhere near as much global traction and global focus, especially in mainstream and legacy media all over Europe and the United States. So, and a situation is being created where it's almost like I don't want to exaggerate, but certain similarities with what was going on in 1971 in terms of global attention on the situation in Bangladesh. So I'd request the organizers to stream the video. Thank you.
How Dr. Yunus assured the world and the nation of reform scheme where inclusivity and equality, let alone fundamental human rights, would be upheld. All these tall claims were made during a speech by Yunus on August 8th upon his return to Bangladesh before taking oath as interim head without winning any election. And from UN to other international rights bodies also backed Yunus' regime and the quest for so-called reform process unanimously. International human rights activists, organizations, politicians, lawyers, journalists raised their concern from the very beginning. But Yunus's interim government didn't pay attention to this concern.
Given the current instability in Bangladesh and since the departure of the former Prime Minister in August, this is a moment of deep concern. Many governments are condemning the violence and calling for peace and law and order to be restored.
But 7 months under the reign, a reality check reveals just the opposite scenario, with law and order went totally collapsed, while the judiciary and law enforcement have been totally weaponized. Mob rule has become the rule, with lynching, communal violence, alongside other acts of terror like arson, looting, rape, curb, on freedom of movement for women and girls roiled the nation. Let's take a look at how rights abuses exacerbated in the country, extrajudicial killing and custodial death by law enforcement. Since August 5th, at the behest of Bangladesh Army, joint forces have been deployed. Troops are also empowered with magistracy power and following our monthly status of killing under law enforcement. Atrocities against minorities.
We have a responsibility because we enable Bangladesh to be free and independent. Now, whatever the change of government has been in Bangladesh, it cannot be acceptable that religious minorities are persecuted in this way.
Attacks on followers of Sufis and shrines. Islamists inciting violence against minorities, in stark contrast to government's narrative on ruling out communal line over attacks against minorities. BBC journalist laid bare how Islamists, released after August 5th, are inciting ongoing spate of violence, targeting all minority communities including Hindus. 2 episodes in BBC radio service brings to light the stark involvement of Islamists in fomenting attacks against minorities. Yunus's sweeping indemnity for mass killing of cops, citizens, and violent attacks on police stations by loyalists. In contrast to the pledge to ensure justice, an order issued on October 14, 2024 by Yunus reads, "Students and citizens who put forth all efforts to make this uprising successful will not face prosecution, arrest, or harassment for their acts between July 15th and August 8th. Emboldened at the indemnity, advocates of Yunus regime, radical Islamists and coordinators from student against discrimination platforms publicly glorified the killing spree of cops and planned destruction of key public offices as part of a violent campaign to bring down Awami League.
যদি মেট্রো রেলে আগুন না দেওয়া হতো, যদি পুলিশদেরকে না মারা হতো, তাহলে বিপ্লবটা এত সহজেই অর্জিত হতো না। কিংবা
পুলিশের ফায়ারিং এ কম লাগছে, সিভিলিয়ান প্লেসে হাতের 7.62 আপনারা নিজেই দেখছেন।
বৈষম্য বিরোধী আন্দোলনে সিরাজগঞ্জের এনায়েতপুরে যদি 15 জন পুলিশ নিহত না হতো, বাংলাদেশের পুলিশের মেরুদণ্ড ভাঙত না।
Despite such public admission of killing, the decree justifying no legal action against violence perpetrated by supporters of Yunus has been likened by rights activists as an act of widespread indemnity granted for perpetrators who killed police, minorities, citizens affiliated with Awami League, aimed to bring Yunus in power and solidify his grip on power. No justice for killing of at least 318 people under Yunus regime. Ayin O Shalish Kendro, a leading human rights organization, reported. Massacre of Awami League activists. At least 171 citizens were reportedly killed in form of lynching, arson, and other forms of violence. According to accounts of family members, tens of thousands of party activists and leaders in almost each unit of 4,573 union, in all the 64 districts across the country, subjected to physical attacks, and their houses and business were looted and vandalized. Hundreds of activists are feared, killed as their whereabouts are unknown for months. Due to impunity for killing of Awami League leaders and activists, there has been no let-up in the extrajudicial killing spree even after 6 months. Rather, the cycle of vengeance and erosion of rights only compounded. Violence against women. Safety of female population, from clothing to workplace and movement, under siege and culture of impunity reigns supreme. Death of freedom of press. The claim of Dr. Yunus to uphold freedom of press emerged out as biggest hoax in 6 months, as not only journalists are suppressed with meticulous design of false lawsuits, arbitrary arrests, unlawful incarceration, but also a record number of headquarters of media outlets came under attacks. Since August 5th, offices of at least 19 media outlets are torched and vandalized, highest since the country's history, according to DW Bangla Service. Mass arrests and arbitrary detention, brutal crackdown. At least 13,540 people were subjected to mass arrests and arbitrary detention from August 2024 till January 2025. In 20 days of February, at least 12,500 were detained in political cases. No justice in court. Victims of mass arrests denied of legal rights. Reports reveal critics of Yunus regime, who have been subjected to mass arrests, were attacked inside court premises on a regular basis. Denial of academic rights of students. Over the space of last 6 months, tens of thousands of students who are opposed to Yunus and his allies were attacked inside campuses, even barred from attending examinations, denied of academic rights, and their certificates have been cancelled by university authorities. Only because of political belief or alignment with Awami League's student wing, scores of students were murdered, abducted from their home, and even thrown behind the bars. Now the questions over Yunus gaining undue privileges to expand business empire.
Hello, welcome back. Thanks for uploading the video. I would now like to introduce the first speaker who has joined us already, Mr. Arun Anand. He's a multilingual author, columnist, broadcaster, podcaster, and senior journalist with more than 3 decades of experience in South Asia. He has written, I am told, around 15 books, in English and Hindi. He's the official translator of Barack Obama's Audacity of Hope in India, a former media advisor to the Union Health Minister from 2014 to 16. He contributes regularly to print and broadcast media in First Post, CNN, TV18, and other networks. And he regularly hosts a very popular podcast called The Nationalist View. Arunji, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gautamji, for such kind words. And, I will keep my address very, short, and I'll try to be pretty focused.
If I may interrupt you, just briefly, and this goes to all the other speakers as well. As you've been informed, all of you have roughly 6 to 8 minutes of speaking time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, distinguished speakers, respected participants, and friends. So, namaskar. So, today we meet at a critical moment in South Asian history. Bangladesh, a country born out of struggle for cultural dignity, linguistic identity, and secular nationalism, is once again at political crossroads. The developments unfolding around especially the 12th February national elections are not just an internal matter for Bangladesh. They carry implications for regional stability, minority rights, democratic norms, and the global fight against radical Islamist ideologies. Now, the elections scheduled for 12th February 2026, they are being described as the most consequential in recent history, taking place after the dramatic political upheaval that followed the 2024 July-August protests and the fall of the previous government, which was the Sheikh Hasina government. But unfortunately, instead of restoring confidence, these elections are themselves now at the center of controversy. The major political stakeholders, they have questioned the credibility of the process. The Awami League, historically, which was the party of liberation war and a central force in Bangladesh politics, it has rejected the election schedule, and it has argued that free and fair polls are impossible under the current interim administration of Muhammad Yunus. The party has even been barred from contesting Awami League, a move, it says, and which obviously makes the election meaningless and unrepresentative of the popular will, because Awami League is the biggest political party, or at least one of the biggest political parties in Bangladesh, and it has been barred from contesting elections. Now, this is a serious issue. because elections are not merely procedural exercises, they are the foundation of legitimacy. So, when a major political force is excluded or feels excluded, the election ceases to be a democratic contest and it becomes a managed political transition. Now, even as the government insists that the officials must ensure neutrality and fairness, the very need for such warning reflects deep anxieties about the credibility of this whole election process. At the same time, the political space, which we need to worry about, at the same time, this political space is now opening for hardline Islamist forces. There are credible reports that suggest that parties like Jamaat-e-Islami, they have been, one of the most controversial actors in Bangladesh political landscape. So these parties like Jamaat-e-Islami are poised to play a significant role in the electoral outcome. This combination, which is now a disputed election, exclusion of major secular political forces, and the growing relevance of Islamist groups, now it creates a very volatile mix. And in such situations, the first victims are always the minorities. Now let's talk about the Hindu community in Bangladesh, which has historically been a living symbol of the country's pluralistic roots. And they are not immigrants or outsiders. They are part of Bangladesh's civilizational continuum or a Bengali civilizational continuum. Yet, whenever political instability rises or radical narratives gain ground in Bangladesh, minorities become soft targets, and it has happened this time also. This pattern has repeated now itself in different political phases over decades, but the manifestation of this pattern in its worst form we have seen ever since the Yunus regime took over. Now, what we are witnessing today is part of that. Actually, basically, probably an exaggerated or a very highly intensified part of this same cycle where political uncertainty is creating social insecurity, especially for the minorities. Now, if the 12 February elections are seen as unfair or exclusionary, it will have three major consequences. First, a crisis of legitimacy inside Bangladesh. Any government that emerges from a contested election will struggle to command trust. And that will create long term instability, protests, and possible cycles of repression and resistance. Second, increased vulnerability of minorities. When political competition becomes ideological or religious in nature, minorities often become scapegoats. Their properties, places of worship, and social standing come under pressure. This has been a recurring pattern in Bangladesh political history. And third, and very significant, is the regional and global implication. South Asia is interconnected. Instability in Bangladesh does not remain confined within its borders. It affects migration patterns, border security, maritime routes, and also ideological networks across the region. Bangladesh, we must understand, occupies a strategic position between South and Southeast Asia. So, if radical Islamist elements gain political legitimacy or influence through a disputed electoral process, it will strengthen similar forces across the region. And this has a direct connection to the global fight against radical Islam. The world has learned over the past 2 decades that extremism does not grow only in war zones. It often grows in political vacuums where institutions are weak, elections are contested, and moderate voices are marginalized. So I will stop here so that the other panelists can have more time. I hope that I haven't crossed the time limit. Thank you very much, and namaskar.
Thank you, Arunji, and Namaskar. Since you've been exemplary in keeping the time, if any of the panelists has a quick comment or question, I'll let it go for half a minute. If anyone wants to quickly respond to that, maybe Millat Sahab or any one of the others. Otherwise, we will go to the next speaker, who unfortunately couldn't be with us due to scheduling constraints, but he has kindly sent us a video message, which we will play after I introduce him. Andy Vermouth, the editor of Hague Gazette, human rights defender, an activist, and a regular commentator in the Netherlands Parliament, in the Dutch Parliament, and in the International Criminal Court in The Hague. The video, please.
Citizens of the world, and especially my brothers and sisters in Bangladesh, thank you all. It's an honor to stand before you today, not as a stranger, but as someone who believes in the power of people coming together. When I think about Bangladesh, I think about a nation born from struggle and hope, a place where rivers flow like veins of life, where the green fields stretch out like a promise of a plenty paradise, and where people of different faiths and backgrounds are living in unity. That's the Bangladesh I admire, a country that roses from the ashes of 1971, declaring not just independence, but a commitment to equality, to diversity. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, all standing side by side, building a future together. But today, I want to talk about something that's heavy on my heart. And I know it's heavy on your heart too. We're seeing the erosion of that beautiful diversity. The religious and political pluralism that once made Bangladesh strong is not just happening overnight, but bit by bit, like a river wearing away the banks. And let's be clear, this isn't just numbers on a page. It's real lives. It's real families, real communities being torn apart. If we look at the facts, back in 1951, Hindus made up 22% of the population. In 47, it was still 28% of the population. By now, that number has dropped to just 8%. That's not just migration for better jobs. It's people fleeing because they feel unsafe, because violence and discrimination have pushed them out. And it's not stopping. Since the fall of the government in August 2024, we've seen a heartbreaking wave of attacks. The Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians, and this Buddhist-Hindu-Christian Unity Council has reported over more than 2,400 incidents of violence against religious minorities. In just the first year after that, homes burned, temples vandalized, people beaten or worse, all because of their faiths. Christians and Buddhists aren't spared either. In 1 month alone, there were multiple brutal attacks, like the one where a man was set on fire. And now in 2026, with political transition still shaky, some voices are even pushing for a full Islamist state, leaving no room for others. This isn't just about religion. It's tied to politics too long. For too long, leaders have used faith as a weapon to divide us. Parties like the Bangladesh Nationalist Party have played games with religious rhetoric, making alliances with extremists to win votes. During elections now, minorities get caught in the crossfire. Threats, boycotts, violence. Hindus, who often support one side, end up targeted by the other. And now, after the upheaval, the rise like groups like Jamaat-e-Islami is fanning the flames, putting the hard-won rights of everyone at risk. Political diversity is shrinking too. Opposition boycotts, underrepresentation of minorities in the government, and a culture where laws exist but aren't enforced. It's what experts call norm erosion. Rules only on paper, but chaos on the ground. Why does this matter? Because diversity isn't a weakness. It is our greatest strength. Think about it. Bangladesh's story is one of resilience. From the liberation war to today, you've shown the world that people of different beliefs can build a nation But when we let show the world that extremism take hold, when we allow political games to silence voices, we lose what makes us human. We lose this chance for our kids. We lose the chance for the Muslim, Hindu, Christian to grow up as friends, not as enemies. We lose the innovation that comes from different ideas, clashing and creating something new. And we lose the soul of Bangladesh, that spirit of pluralism that inspired the whole world. But here is the good news. It's not too late. I've seen it before. I've seen it in United States. I've seen it in Europe. I've seen it around in places around the whole globe. When ordinary people stand up and say enough. And in Bangladesh, I hope we can see these glimpses of that resilience. During the power vacuum after 2024, many in society protected their neighbors, showing that real unity can win. Religious leaders from all faiths have to work together to build this harmony. That's the spark we need to fan into the flame. So the people of Bangladesh, let's recommit to the promise of 1971. Protect your minorities, not as an act of charity, but as an act of strength. Enforce the laws that guarantee freedom for all. Reject the extremists who divides us, and embrace the politics that can unite us. To the world, stand with Bangladesh. Support efforts for real fair elections where all parties can participate. Human rights and peace. And to everyone listening, remember, change doesn't come from the top alone. It comes from us, from you, and from me. Choosing hope over fear, unity over division. Yes, the road ahead is though, but I believe in you. I believe in the power of diversity to lift us all. Together, we can build a Bangladesh where every faith flourishes, every voice is heard, and every child dreams big. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless Bangladesh.
Thank you, Mr. Vermut, for that very inspiring and rousing address. I would now like to introduce the next speaker, who is probably joining in from the region. He is Mr. Sheikh Mohammed Naim, a very feisty and brave young student leader. He's the Deputy International Affairs Secretary of the Dhaka University Students' League, which I believe is the students' wing of the Awami League Party, and as such a person who is perhaps facing grave personal danger to himself. Mr. Naim, welcome to the platform. You have 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gautam, and also thanks to Global Center for Democratic Governance. So today, as my time is very limited, I'm going to discuss about two most important things that needs to be discussed at everywhere in the world. First of all, the elections that is going to happen at 12th of February, and the second things, what's happening actually inside Bangladeshi universities for last 18 months. So first of all, this is not going to be an inclusive election. Like the biggest party, the oldest party of Bangladesh, who led the liberation war of 1971, that party is excluded from this election. We do have 40%, more than 40% vote bank, in the entire society, and excluding 40%, more than 40% people from the election. So this election is definitely not going to be a legitimate election. The legitimacy itself, the legitimacy is the legitimacy that I'm talking about is whenever a election is happening, whenever a tournament, a World Cup is happening. See, without Brazil and Argentina, you can never think about the World Cup football, right? Without India, England, or Australia, you can never think about World Cup cricket, right? Similarly, without Bangladesh Awami League, you can never imagine an election like in Bangladesh, in a country like Bangladesh. So definitely we are telling our voters, we are campaigning for that so that our voters don't go to vote, and this election is remaining questionable. So moving to the next thing that I want to emphasize the most, that as I'm representing the student wing of Bangladesh Awami League, that is Bangladesh Students League. So Bangladesh Students League is an organization that is a student political organization founded by the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And this organization, the people of this organization, 17,000 people had sacrificed their life in the liberation war at 1971. And right now, the situation is this organization, our organization, is banned in Bangladesh by the Dr. Yunus regime right now. So the thing is, for that reason, more than 500,000 students who are affiliated with my organization, Bangladesh Students League, due to life threats, they are not entering into their campuses, they are not attending their classes, they are not attending their regular exams. So whenever we are trying to enter into the university campuses, we face different kinds of mob lynchings each and every day. Just a moment ago, the organizers were showing a documentary regarding the mob lynchings in Rajshahi College. That girl is Jannat Pia from Rajshahi College. She just went to attend her exam. And in her exam hall, suddenly 10 to 15 people came and started punching on her face, grabbing her hair. You just saw the video, right? So like that, in Dhaka University, one of our student leader, our activist Shihabuddin Toimur, he got arrested when he went to attend his exam. When one of our activists, Shorif from Dhaka University, when he went to his dorm to collect his necessary things, he faced severe mob lynchings, and then for 7 or 8 months he was in jail. So like in last 18 months, more than 15,000 students had been rusticated officially by the people who were set by the Yunus regime in every university. Like in Dhaka University, 403 students; in Jahangirnagar University, 289 students; in Bangladesh Agricultural University, 154 students. Such like this in every kind of university, medical college, engineering college, science and technology university, everywhere, our students who are affiliated with our organization, without any kind of criminal charges, without any kind of like doing anything, they just got rusticated because of they are pro 1971, they're pro liberation war, because of they love the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Maybe some of them are the supporters of Bangladesh Awami League. Even the people who doesn't have any kind of designation in our party, just the supporter base of the organization, they're even being targeted only for having this kind of ideology. Is that a crime? No, definitely no. So the constitution the constitution in Bangladesh, that is not working right now. The law and justice system, that is also not working in Bangladesh right now. You will find lawlessness in every sector, every day, in every street of Bangladesh right now. Whenever you are going, you will never feel safe in the streets of Dhaka, in the streets of Chittagong, in the streets of Sylhet. Women cannot move anywhere at any time right now like before. Things have changed like drastically, and right now the situation is vandalizers, mobsters, they are doing whatever they want to do. They just had burned down the most popular newspaper of Bangladesh, the Daily Star. They had attacked on the most Bengali newspaper, the Prothom Alo office. And also you have heard about the biggest music school of Bangladesh, that is Chayanot, and the next one is Udichi. And both of those musical organizations, cultural organizations, those are also attacked. The house of the father of the nation of Bangladesh, that was attacked not once, not twice, but thrice. Three times people went there to just make vandalization. And I'm talking about my thing. This is not only the story of mine, this is the story of each and every activist, each and every leader, student leader of Bangladesh who are affiliated with Bangladesh Students League. Their rooms from their dormitories, their things, necessary things, their academic laptops, their everything had been looted from their dormitory rooms. Their bikes had been crushed. And a huge amount of student leaders, student activists from our organization had been killed during last 18 months, and we did not get any kind of justice. And right now the situation that is happening in court, Bangladeshi court right now, that is, you cannot say there will be any kind of fair trial in Bangladeshi courts. That is called, that is being famous right now as the kangaroo court system. Like cases, criminal charges are going there, but people are not getting justice. Those who are in power, who are unelected, who doesn't have any kind of agenda, who doesn't have any kind of supporter base, who doesn't have any kind of political affiliation, those who are puppets of the West, they're just running, they're just ruling this country just the way they want to do right now. They're just compromising with the sovereignty of our country, and they are serving the agendas of the West right now in Bangladesh. And Bangladeshi people are not fools. Like, they're also protecting each and every day. For last 18 months, you will see more than 250 kind of protest in Bangladesh had happened. And also their police went there to just stop them so that they cannot burn down or they cannot make vandalization of the public properties, the government offices that we have seen in Bangladesh during July and August of 2024. So these are the situations of Bangladesh. And I was also about to mention some incidents that had happened in the most recent time. That is one of our student leader from Bagherhat. His name is Jewel Hassan Saddam, and he was in jail for 10 months. And he was not allowed to meet his wife for once in 10 months even. His wife thought that he's not going to come back. So his wife committed suicide with a just 7 months old kid. So then their dead body came to jail just to meet with Saddam. These kind of situations are happening right now in Bangladesh. Even in jail, each and every country, whoever wants to, any individual, if he wants to attend the exams or wants to continue his study in jail, everyone can do that in every country, right? But in Bangladesh, there is no this kind of situations for last 18 months. Our student activists who are in jail, they cannot study from jail. Even in universities, they're not allowed in the classes, in the campus areas. From the authority, they have taken every decisions, and they have patronized all the mobsters just to attack on us. They're forcing the police, the RAB, the detective branch, the army even. They're forcing them just to arrest us. Even those people like us who are in the safe zone in Bangladesh, like somewhere hiding in Bangladesh, they're even finding us. We did not do any kind of crime. See, having a political choice, doing a political party is not a crime in any country of the world, right? But in this kind of situation, we are facing mob violences from mobsters, and also tortures from the administrations or the governments, whatever you say. So this is the situation, this is the lawlessness, and this is the uncontrolled situations are going inside Bangladeshi universities. And I want to mention about one of my juniors, closest one. His name is Mehdi, and he doesn't have any designation, and he is in jail for more than 1 year. So people like who are the supporter base of our organization, they're even being targeted, they're even being beaten very badly. Even some of them had to sacrifice their life just when he went to meet his mother in his home. Some of our people had just lost everything from their life, like business, like job, like career, like and the number is like huge. It's more than 500,000, near about 1 million. Just see, more than 15,000 students had been rusticated from Bangladesh in Dhaka University, and unofficially more than 500,000 students cannot enter into their campus. Maybe this is a mass rustication issue. Maybe this issue needs to be raised in the international platforms, and thanks to the organizers of this webinar, so that because they had given me the chance to raise this issue in towards everyone. So
Naim
yeah.
Saab, I'm so very sorry to interrupt you, because you're saying things which are crucial and which are very important and very informative. But if you could just wrap up in a couple of seconds, because we are running
Yeah,
on a very
sure.
tight.
Definitely. So to all the people of Bangladesh, to all the activists and leaders of Bangladesh Awami League and Bangladesh Students League, I just want to tell you guys one thing, that is the election that is going to be approached on 12th of February in this year. You guys are not going to the vote centers, and definitely we will fight until we win. So yeah, thank you everyone, thank you.
Thank you so much, Naim Saab, and I'm sorry, but we are running on a tight schedule. But thank you for that very detailed background. We'll quickly go to our next speaker, who's Mr. Priyojit Deb Sarkar, an author, geopolitical analyst, and activist specializing on South Asia, on the Indian subcontinent. He has written some very interesting books which demonstrate a diversity of interests. For example, my personal favorites are The Last Raja of West Pakistan, which is about the king of the Chakmas. I'm very interested because my ancestors come from Chittagong, and Bangladesh on the Brink. Deb Sarkar, please.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I would like to thank first the organizers of the Global Center for Democratic Governance, the moderator, Dr. Chakraborty, distinguished panelists, those who have already spoken and those who are yet to speak, and the fellow audience. A very good afternoon from London. I think we have got people joining all the way from North America to Europe, and a very good evening to those in India and Bangladesh and in Asia. So I'll be very short, and so I think it's already quite informative as to what has been discussed, especially what my previous panelist has elaborately said about what is happening in the universities, the ground level, the rustications, or the barring the right of education for those who support a particular political ideology, which is not a crime. You're free to do that. It's one of the fundamental rights. So thank you very much, because I think in the West we sometimes miss out on the fine detail. So South Asia is the most populous region of the world. It is the heart of the Indo-Pacific. It is also an emerging center for a globalized world. The Old West, on either side of the North Atlantic, cannot afford to have no foreign policy and become a tool in the hands of those who want to shape and traumatize us through their acts and means. Now, I'll make it very short. I've got 2 points. So the month of August is of particular turbulence when it comes to South Asia. And we have seen just 3 years prior to the 5th of August, the fall of Afghanistan in Kabul, with the rise of the Taliban and its forces. That was in August. We have 5th of August, of course, which is what we are discussing now. We have had other instances in August throughout. So that month holds a very significant date in the calendar of Southeast Asia. And the second is this upcoming election. I call it is an inclusive void. So it is supposed to be inclusive, but there is a significant void of more than 40% electorate who are, according to Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, Nobel laureate, they have been, so the party has not been banned, but they are not allowed to contest this election as it may. So they might be allowed later on. So we are not very sure as to how you can disallow one of the most largest and the most significant political forces inside Bangladesh. And my last point would be, again, on the rights of women, and especially those who work and contribute a significant amount in the Bangladesh's, probably the best, Bangladesh is best known for its ready-made garments exports globally. And women are the backbone of that industry. So any future legislation in order to curb the rights of women's working, maybe reduced working, or even for women participating in cultural activities, day-to-day life, as we have seen that the Jamaat-e-Islami have tried to propose and test the waters of to limit the participation of women in the socio-economic pluralistic fabric of the Bengali identity. That is something is very ominous. So the 12th of February, and the last point is the 12th of February, if you recollect, the same mirror duplicate or opposite of the 21st of February. The 21st of February stands for the International Mother Language Day, the rise of the Bengali identity against alien Urdu or Punjabi nationalism. So if you just turn the date around from 21st, it is the 12th. So I don't know, is this something deliberate or it's a hidden message that they have chosen this date in order to conduct an election where supposedly Bangladesh is going to be reset. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dev Sarkar, Priyojit. That was very succinct and very brief. We will now move on to the next session, which looks at the road ahead, Quo Vadis, the famous Latin saying, which means what next, what now. Before that, I would just like to put certain things in context as the moderator. As a number of speakers, Priyojit and Naim Saab also said, there is one crucial there are some hypocrisies which are at work in contemporary Bangladesh. One is the RAB. Now, a lot of international media houses and and South Asian media houses pointed out that accused the RAB of various acts of commission and omission during the democratically elected government of Sheikh Hasina, the last democratically elected Bangladeshi government. And so they were saying that the RAB is a very terrorist, not terrorist, but a very oppressive organization. But it seems they don't have any problems using the RAB now that they're in power. The second point is the crucial difference between the opposition's participation in the elections during the Awami League governments and now. During the Awami League's governments, the opposition boycotted the elections. They themselves decided not to participate. Whereas now, the Awami League is being forced, compelled not to participate in the elections. And this is a very crucial difference, which is being papered over by international media and the corridors of power all over the world. So I think these are two key crucial differences and two crucial points on which the current de facto ruling regime of Bangladesh, led by Professor or Dr. whatever, Muhammad Yunus, a Nobel laureate. This is a very glaring and a very disturbing, these are very glaring and very disturbing sort of aberrations. So I would like to sort of introduce the next speaker, who's Dr. Mullah Haq. But before introducing him, I would like to say that one of our speakers is missing, because he will be missing. The Right Honorable Bob Lancia, Reverend Dr. Robert Lancia, has a personal medical emergency in his family, and he is at this current moment absolutely unable to join us. But we will have more time to discuss, and we will have a video from another speaker later on. So Dr. Mullah Haq is from Monash University, Australia. He's involved in teaching, research and development, specializing in statistics and various other disciplines. But I would like to also say that he's the director of he's a director of the Global Center for Democratic Governance, which is the platform which is kindly hosting this panel discussion. He's a Justice of the Peace of the Australian government. He's the CEO and director of Tesla Academy, which is an Australian government registered vocational college, and principal of the Melbourne Bangla School, which is also a community school accredited to by the Australian government. He's the founding president of the Melbourne Bangladeshi Community Foundation. Dr. Haq, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and privilege to be here tonight. Honorable President of GCDG, moderator, panelists, and audience, my heartfelt greetings. Today, I want to shed light on the upcoming referendum and the national parliament election in Bangladesh. There are a few points that I want to mention before discussing the above-mentioned topic. One, after the meticulously designed conspiracy against the democratically formed Awami League government, which led to the fall of the government and forced expulsion of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, the President of Bangladesh was forced to seek extra-constitutional means to abide by the instructions of the army and the conspirators of the so-called July protesters. Normally, in absence of a PM, the Constitution allows the President to follow Article 72(1), where he can abolish the parliament and elect a new PM within 90 days. The President sought counsel from the Supreme Court, which bypassed Articles 141A and 141B of the Constitution, that is parliamentary approval to issue emergency measures, such as formation of an interim government. The Supreme Court used its advisory power under Article 106 without forming a full bench, undermining the principle of judicial collegiality. Also, following Article 48(2), the President didn't pass an ordinance under Article 93. The formation of the interim government headed by Dr. Yunus is extra-constitutional and illegal. Also under Article 7A and 7B of the 15th Amendment of the Constitution, formation of a caretaker or interim government outside the parliamentary approval is completely illegal. So the High Court has cancelled 15th Amendment partially due to or citing the doctrine of necessity. Irrespective of legality of the interim government, the Constitution in no way allows the current interim government to legitimately run elections. There was supposed to be a caretaker government, non-interim, at least 90 days before the election, which bars the caretaker government from doing anything other than running the day-to-day tasks and does not allow in any form to execute any reforms or executive order-related tasks. However, we can see that they're continuing doing national and international deals that they're not supposed to do. For example, they're going to sign a tax deal with the United States just 3 days before the national election. So I'm merely indicating many irregularities in formation of the interim government and their execution power, such as providing indemnity to the murderers following 5th August till end of August 2024. Talking about misuse of executive powers. In Bangladesh's history, we have seen the referendums. There are 3 referendums that actually took place in 1977 by General Jia to legitimize his presidency, 1985 by Lieutenant General Ershad for legitimizing his presidency, and in 1991, another referendum took place to legitimize parliamentary democracy. So all these 3 referendums actually was done on one single topic. However, in 2026, we see that it is being held to legitimize an unprecedented and unbelievable number of reforms, which layer under layer makes it very difficult to apprehend the true nature of proposed changes the incoming government must implement within 180 working days. The July National Charter or Constitutional Reform Implementation Order, often referred to as the Referendum Ordinance, covers a total of 48 constitution-related reform proposals and 36 executive reform proposals. Out of these 84, 36 reforms are very complex and general population might not even understand it. So voters will not vote these 48 items individually. Rather, they will cast a single yes or no vote on the entire package, which has been grouped into 4 major clusters, such as establishment of an interim caretaker system, transition to a bicameral parliament, a consensus package of 30 specific reforms and general reform commitments. So the referendum is scheduled to take place on 12th of February, concurrently with the national parliamentary election. If approved, a constitutional reform council will be formed to finalize these changes within 180 working days. One of the major issues, which is utter despicable campaign by the interim government chief advisor and other advisors, is to force general people to say yes. They spent nearly 140 crore Dhaka and used all the government resources to accomplish this task. Despite knowing it is illegal to use any government officials or resources to pursue people towards a yes or no, they kept doing it until a petition to the Supreme Court against it. Then on 29th of January, the Election Commission and the Cabinet Secretary issued separate notices to the country's 1.4 million government officials under Section 21 of the Referendum Ordinance and Article 86 of the Representation of the People Order, or RPO 1972, which states that it is punishable offense of up to 5 years in jail and fine. But we can still see the government officials are actually working towards or pushing people towards a yes vote in the upcoming referendum. We see the civil servants, there are 785,000 officials and 900,000 law enforcement officials. They're constitutionally bound to remain impartial. But question remains that whether they are still impartial, given that the government is pushing them. Second major issue is the banning activities and keeping the major political party out of election. Without the largest party in Bangladesh, there can't be an election. Historically, Bangladesh Awami League has always been either number one or number two majority vote-holding party. They have won more than 200 seats in the parliament in the last 3 consecutive parliament. So hence, keeping the party out of election indicates nearly 40% or more voters do not have a choice to vote for their preferable party. They will be forced to either refrain from voting or vote for a less preferable party in the election, resulting in an undeserving party coming in power. This might also widen the path for election engineering to illegally vote in place of the absent Awami League voters. And third major issue is the lawlessness, including theft, robbery, rape, mob violence, mob lynching of Awami League activists, and forcing them to flee from their homes, even country, political persecution and illegal arrest of more than 100 MPs and ministers, and more than 350,000 Awami League activists, most of whom are not getting bail, despite being innocent of the crime they're accused of committing, where more than 20 MPs and activists died in prison without proper treatment. These bars a significant number of voters to vote freely. To conclude, I want to lay before you the fact that starting from the abolishment of the parliament, formation of interim government, killing hundreds of people, including police officers and Awami League activists, issuing executive orders, including indemnity to killers and proposed reforms, banning Bangladesh Awami League activities, and the election organized by this interim government are all extra-constitutional and could very easily be challenged in the court of law. I thank the Global Center for Democratic Governance for organizing the seminar, and I also thank the moderator and the fellow panelists for having me here. Kind regards and thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hawk, for that very factual and very informative presentation. We will now go on to a video message from the Right Honorable Alan Wrights, who had scheduling constraints today. He's a local Queen's Award winning, he's a British Queen's Award winning businessman with 40 years of experience in in the business field. He assists businesses locally and globally. He is associated with the Diageo Export and in the Institute of Export at West Thames College. His businesses and his life has taken him through the UK, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East for 25 years. He's also been involved with the British government's trade missions, and he also has given guest lectures at the King's College London, Brunel University, University of West London, and local colleges, and as a trustee at the Hounslow's Promise and Witten Community Centre in London. The video from Mr. Wrights, please.
Good morning, my name's Alan Wright. I'm very sorry that I'm unable to be at the event today to talk about Bangladesh. Fortunately for me, I'm going to support my favourite rugby team, England play Wales. What I wanted to say is leave a message today to talk about the very sad events that are going on currently in Bangladesh. We in the UK live on an island that has had 1,000 years of stability and has been a haven for people from all over the world to come and take respite during troubled times in their own countries. I was honoured not so many months ago to sit by the side of Bob Blackburn MP and talk about events going on in India, and we touched upon Bangladesh, and I've seen recently his statements and letters, which I wholeheartedly support. We hope that the elections coming soon in Bangladesh will give a chance for stability to return to the country, and I would urge people there and around the world to study closely the events that are taking place, get behind the free people of Bangladesh, and hope that global support can help them return to a happy, peaceful country and leave us with the wonderful clothing that we wear today and the technology support that we get in all of our computers that we know comes from the great country of Bangladesh. Thank you.
So thanks to the Right Honourable Mr. Rights for that very encouraging comment about the past and future of Bangladesh and his encouraging words. I would now like to invite Mr. Chris Blackburn to speak. Mr. Blackburn has worked in the Indian subcontinent for over 20 years. He has been awarded, he has received numerous awards for his work on security, human rights, and democracy. He has led programs combating religious extremism and communalism in India and Bangladesh. He's also a co-founder of the Global Friends of Afghanistan, a non-profit organization based in the USA. Mr. Blackburn, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers, for many years, Bangladesh was held up as one of the most remarkable development stories in the Muslim world. A country born from war, famine, and political instability achieved extraordinary progress in education, public health, economic growth, and crucially, women's empowerment. Bangladesh became known as a nation where women led at the highest levels of governance, the highest level of politics, and where girls' education transformed entire communities. It wasn't perfect, but it was undeniably moving forward. Today, however, we are witnessing a deeply troubling reversal. Bangladesh is simply not going through political turbulence. It is undergoing a cultural and ideological shift that is pushing it backwards. Women are increasingly being forced out of public life. Islamic fundamentalists are shaping the national narrative, and the interim government led by Muhammad Yunus has failed to challenge these growing pressures in Bangladesh. A recent international report by the Associated Press highlighted the vanishing of women from Bangladesh's political arena. The headline alone should alarm anyone who has followed the country's journey over the past few decades. Bangladesh was once known for the Battle of the Begums, where its female leaders dominated national politics. Now women are becoming increasingly invisible in rallies, leadership spaces, and decision-making circles. This change is not accidental. It reflects a broader transition in the country's political climate. We also saw a recent interview with Jamaat's leader on Al Jazeera, where he said that women in powerful roles wasn't part of the Bangladeshi culture, which is complete nonsense. The most worrying aspect of this shift is the growing confidence of religious hardliners. Islamist groups that were once politically marginal are now shaping public discourse. Their influence is increasingly visible in social debates, in the media, and in the boundaries of what politicians are willing to say. Instead of being challenged, those voices are being accommodated, and in some cases, quietly appeased. We can now see the consequences of this change in several recent developments that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. There have been organised campaigns and protests aimed at stopping women's football in Bangladesh. Women's sports, once celebrated as a symbol of empowerment and national pride, has become a target. Female footballers have faced intimidation, social pressure, and public opposition simply for wanting to play the game. The message behind these campaigns is unmistakable. Women should not be visible in public spaces, and they should not represent the nation on a sporting field. At the same time, there have been growing efforts to discourage or block women from applying for specific jobs. In some sectors, pressure from radical Islamic groups has led to demands that women be excluded from roles that they have then deemed inappropriate. These pressures are not always written into law, but they shape reality through social intimidation and political silence. When young women begin to believe that specific careers are no longer open to them, the damage is already becoming done. This is how regression begins, not with sweeping legislation, but with social and societal pressure, intimidation, and silence from leadership. And this is where Muhammad Yunus's role has become central. Yunus came to power at a moment of enormous expectation. After the upheaval that removed the previous government, many hoped the interim leadership would rebuild democratic institutions, defend secular values, and set Bangladesh on a path of reform and renewal. Instead, his government has now appeared hesitant and cautious when facing this pressure. So the rise of and the erosion of secular principles, the trauma of 1971, which shaped a national identity built on pluralism and inclusion. Religion was never meant to define citizenship or restrict the role of women in public life. Now that founding vision is now under strain. The national conversation has shifted, and instead of asking how Bangladesh can build on its success in women's education and employment, the debate is increasingly about limits, boundaries, and restrictions. And this also applies to minorities as well. So instead of celebrating female achievement, public discourse is becoming more comfortable with the absence of women. And this is very disappointing. And this shift has profound implications not only for Bangladesh, but for the wider world. Bangladesh is one of the most populous countries on earth and a central global manufacturing hub. Its stability and trajectory matter far beyond its borders. Bangladesh that retreats from inclusion and pluralism will be a very different partner for the international community. Perhaps the most dangerous aspect of this moment is how gradual it has become. Societies rarely move backwards overnight. They drift, they compromise, they accept small changes that accumulate into a larger transformation. What begins as societal pressure becomes political reality. What starts as silence becomes acceptance. Bangladesh now stands at a critical juncture. It can choose to defend the progress that lifted millions of women in education, employment, and public life, or can allow that progress to erode under the weight of radical Islamism and ideological pressure. The country has achieved extraordinary things before, and it is resilient. It has overcome natural disasters, poverty, and political instability. It has proven its resilience time and time again. But that history should give us hope, even though many of us who study and follow Bangladesh are living in fear. But hope alone is not enough. Progress requires leadership, courage, and a willingness to challenge intolerance, even when it is politically uncomfortable. Bangladesh once showed the world that development and women's empowerment go hand in hand. The question today is whether it will defend that legacy or allow it to fade. The direction the country chooses will now shape its future generations. We are seeing a Bangladesh that is on the brink, and people are living in fear. Hopefully, wiser heads will prevail and that Bangladesh will continue down the path of moderation and being a successful story within the Muslim world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackburn, for that very concise and very hard-hitting message. Since we have some time which has opened up due to the very unfortunate medical situation with the Right Honorable Reverend Robert Lancia, I would like to take the moderator's privilege to request Naim Saab for a very short comment, a couple of minutes at the most, to conclude his report on the dire situation of the students, especially students belonging to various bodies, the students' organization of the Awami League, the Chhatra League. Please, Mr. Naim, but only 2 minutes because we are on a very tight schedule.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I was telling you guys about the situations inside our campuses, our universities. So right now I want to talk about one more important thing, that is about the referendum that is also happening with the vote. The referendum that is happening, you have the people of Bangladesh, they have not decided anything yet, where the government, that is the government with their entire administrative body, they are trying to preach, they are trying to manipulate the entire people of Bangladesh to vote for yes. People don't know what does yes means, what does no means. So with this international platform, I want to tell it to the people of Bangladesh that don't go to the vote centers, and if you even want to practice your political right and if you want to vote, don't vote for yes. The government is patronizing the government is patronizing and using their money to the people to promote their ideology, to promote to promote the situations, to verify, to legitimizing their vandalization. If you vote for yes, then all the murders, all the rapes, all the crimes, all the chaotic situation, everything that you have seen for last 18 months, everything will be forgiven from the government side of Bangladesh. So don't give a yes to the referendum, even if you go to the vote center. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add. And the students of Bangladesh, as they're not practicing any kind of any freedom of expression in Bangladeshi universities, any kind of political rights in universities, even their careers had been snatched away from them. So yeah, good day will come, and definitely we will survive this bad time one day. Thank you everyone, and thank you, Mr. Gautam.
Thank you so much, Naim Saab. We are running on a really very tight schedule, but we are coming to the conclusion of our panel discussion. And we will be hearing from the organizer of the event, Professor Dr. Muhammad Habib Millat, also known as Munna. He's a cardiac surgeon. He is a former politician or a politician who belongs to the Bangladesh Awami League. And he's a former member of the Bangladeshi National Parliament, the Jatiyo সংসদ, from the Sirajganj 2 constituency. He's also the director of the Global Center for Democratic Governance, which is the main organizer of this panel discussion. Professor Dr. Habib Millat, the floor is now yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. After the political changeover in August 2024, the world is expecting Bangladesh, the way they portrayed at that time, economically booming, peaceful country, law and order situation is controlled very well, the judicial system will work, the people will have their freedom, human rights, and social rights. But after taking Dr. Yunus in 8th of August, the things have changed. Bangladesh is facing profound human rights and constitutional crisis under the unelected interim governments, marked by mob violence, persecution of minorities, systematic suppression of political opponents or oppositions, and the collapse of rule of law. Documented incident and verified data indicated that the country is rapidly descending into a country gripped by fear and lawlessness, as experienced by the millions of citizens across the sectors of the society. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina didn't resign. However, through a misinterpretation of Article 106 of the Constitution, Parliament was dissolved and an interim government was installed, bypassing constitutional norms and democratic legitimacy. The decision triggered a cascade of repression, violence, and unchecked authority. If we go back, we see 637 people were killed in mob lynching incident from August 24 to January 26. 86 extrajudicially killing in law enforcement custody at the same time. 42 political detainees affiliated with Awami League died in prison. Even yesterday, one of our senior minister, he was killed in prison for mental and physical torture. He is 85 plus. He died yesterday. Public lynching and custodial death have become frequent, more often occurring without investigation and accountability. They are told they died because of heart attack. Everybody, 37 years old or 85 years old, everybody has heart attack, obviously. Systemic suppression of political oppositions. 537 leaders and activists of Awami League and affiliated organization murdered is documented. There are verified data. If you go to the Global Center for Democratic Governance website, you'll find all of those. globalcdg.org, you find all of those. 359,000 plus arrested from August 2024 to May 2025. Predominantly Awami League activists. There is no data available after that. 124 MPs, including 15 women, illegally detained for many months, not getting bail, or if they even get the bail, they were rearrested at the jail gate with other charges, fabricated charges. Awami League, the oldest and the most popular party in the country, were banned by an ordinance of interim government. The registration was suspended by the Election Commission under government directives. So think about that, what is happening in our country. Bangladesh is currently operating without an effective political pluralism. Minority is not only the Hindus, Buddhists, Christian, even Ahmadiyya Muslim. They're tortured. 182 minority individuals were killed, including 10 indigenous persons. 58 minority women were raped, 700 plus subjected to sexual violence. 2,797 documented incidents of minority persecution during these 18 months. Religious and ethnic targeting includes 17 charges are burned on the Christmas Day 2024. Threatening letters sent to 21 churches and Christian individuals in December 2025. 103 documented human rights violations in Chittagong hill tracts. 49 arbitrary arrests. According to the official data, between September 24 to June 25, 12,726 cases of violence against women were reported, including 4,105 rape cases, reflecting a growing climate of fear and impunity. The LGBTQI community faced 396 cases of harassment, violence across 70 documented incidents. On the 4th and 5th of August, at that time, 44 police officers, 2 Ansar members, and 1 BGB officer were killed. 182 police officers are missing. More than 480 police stations out of 500 were vandalized, looted, arsoned, and bulldozed sometime. More than 6,000 modern arms and more than 650,000 bullets were looted at that time. That has not been recovered yet. And people are expecting they will be using that in this non-participatory election. Destruction of the state symbols. The Bangabandhu Museum, the birthplace of Bangladesh's independence, were demolished with bulldozers 3 times in presence of police and Bangladesh military. Over 185 Sufi shrines destroyed because of those places are cultural and also spiritual places. But Jamatis and the extremists, they do not want this sort of symbols should be there. They want to implement their own Islam in Bangladesh. More than 1,400 monuments or sculpture or symbol of independence has been demolished over this year. If you say about the journalists and media, 184 journalists accreditation card were removed. 354 journalists are implicated with fabricated murder cases. 18 journalists arrested in false cases, mainly murder cases. 523 documented incidents of journalist persecution, whether harassment of the male or female journalist, that's common. They burned the Prathama Law office and also Daily Star, and they took over the ownership of Daily Janakontha. And the mob is going there. They are changing the authority of the media houses. Bangladesh is no longer guarantee press freedom or journalist safety. I shouldn't say press freedom. I should say press censored at its highest level in 55 years of history. After 5th August, mob violence heavily targeted the academic sector. 45 university teachers are permanently dismissed, 200 temporarily suspended, around few 100,000 students are subjected to coordinated academic sanction, including denial of getting into the to start into the college, or not giving them the certificate or registration, or harass them and hand over to the police. 2,000 teachers were attacked by mob, and nearly 100 teachers are charged with fabricated murder cases. And the professionals, more than 700 lawyers, they have been accused of fabricated murder cases. 94 of them in one day were sent to jail. It's in the history of Bangladesh. As I said, as an unelected and constitutionally illegitimate government, the rule of law has collapsed. Opposition politics have been criminalized. Minority face systemic repression and persecution. Mob violence has been normalized. Media is silenced. Citizens live in fear. Bangladesh effectively became a country gripped by fear and lawlessness. At this moment, there is an election. There are many parties in Bangladesh are not participating, or not to participate, are not allowed to participate in this election. Bangladesh Awami League. Even the last election, which is acceptable to everybody, Bangladesh Awami League got 48.4% vote, and its allies, 14-party alliance, is the other party, another 10.8%. So, leaving the majority of the people behind, no election can be accepted to the nation and internationally. So we would urge everybody not to go for vote because of if you don't have the choice to vote your own people, so what's the point of going to the vote? But I urge international community to come forward and look into that, because what we want is free, fair, inclusive, and participatory national election involving all political parties under a neutral caretaker government, independent and impartial investigation to all human rights violation, because this government has given indemnity to those people who killed many hundred people, vandalized, looted, arsoned thousands of properties, but they got the indemnity. And immediate restoration civil right and law and order. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Habib Millat. With that, we've come to the conclusion of our very productive, very informative, and also saddening panel discussion. Speaking as a person of Indian origin who has ancestral roots in the Chittagong hill tracts, in the Chittagong area, to all the Bangladeshis here who may or may not understand the Chittagonian dialect, So with that, I would like to express both my admiration at the resilience of the Bangladeshi speakers here, but also at the syncretic culture of Bangladesh. As Arunji, I'll just wrap up in a minute before we see the concluding video. As the first speaker, Arun Anandji, said, Bangladesh's cultural life, religio-cultural life is a very syncretic tapestry. It's actually the best example of Hindu, Muslim syncretism, Sufi, Buddhist syncretism, Christian, indigenous tribal syncretism that we see in India. The soil of Bangladesh, the soil of Bengal, have produced a very rich example of both Hindu, Muslim, Sufi, and various other denominations. And it is this multicultural and harmonious, syncretic, religio-cultural social space which is now being destroyed both by murderous and violent Islamists, but also by forces about whom we will not discuss here, but forces who are being given a sort of legitimacy by someone who's not only an eminent economist, not only an eminent academician, a Nobel laureate, but also very well-respected figure in the transatlantic academic and economic worlds. So this is, for me personally, the paradox of the entire situation the biggest paradox of the entire situation in Bangladesh. Does Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, does he want his academia page to have all these things mentioned on it? With that question, I would like to thank all the speakers today. And I would like to wish Bangladesh, that glorious country of the rising sun in South Asia, to live up to the promise of the liberation struggle and to live up to the ideals of the Bangabandhu, one of the tallest leaders of the Indian subcontinent of the last century. Namaskar, salam.
Thank you.
Joy Bangla.
Thank you.
Joy Bangla.